Hello, and thanks for joining me today. My name is Jeff, and you're listening to episode 10 of the Comic Book of the Day podcast. Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Comic Book of the Day podcast. Today, we are covering Justice League of America number 14, published by DC Comics. This was published in September of 1962. So we are going all the way back. I believe so far, this might be the oldest comic book that we've covered so far. So 1962. What is that? Oh my gosh, let me have to do some math here real quick. That's about 60 years old almost. Somewhere around 50, 60 years old. The title of this comic is The Menace of the Atom Bomb. Okay? This is the story of, well, this isn't the story of the Atom joining the Justice League. This is a story featuring the Atom, and the end result is that he becomes a Justice League member. So this is a really terrific story. This goes all the way back to the early 60s, and the roll call for this issue is, I just want to let you know, this is the quintessential Justice League, if you will. So this is Aquaman, Batman, Flash, Green Arrow, and remember, this is old school Green Arrow. This is before Neil Adams redid the costume. So this is before the Green Arrow that you and I probably grew up with, that has the really awesome Van Dyke. I think is that called a Van Dyke, where he's got that little split. I don't know, what do you call it? But it's the old Green Arrow, when Speedy and Green Arrow were a thing. It's also got Green Lantern, John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, Superman, Wonder Woman, and okay, here's where we're going to diverge a little bit. This is Snapper. It also has guest starring Snapper Carr. I was never a big Snapper Carr fan. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand why the Justice League had a weird teenager hanging around them called Snapper. I think this is probably their attempt to try to get readers. I don't know. What do you do? I think his name's Snapper because he snaps his fingers, and I think that might be like a hipster thing from the 50s, like a beatnik. Like if you're listening to beat poetry, I really don't know. I mean, it completely baffles me, the whole concept of Snapper Carr. So I didn't understand it. Rick Jones with the Hulk? Okay, see, Rick Jones was integral to the Hulk's origin. I mean, Dr. Banner actually drove a Jeep out there and rescued Rick Jones and became the Hulk as a result of him rescuing a teenager. So I get that, right? I understand why, Dr. Banner and Rick Jones were always sort of intrinsically linked, because he had so much to do with his origin. But Snapper Carr, man, I didn't even understand it. And he was in the secret hideout. I mean, this guy got to hang out at the hideout. Way worse than, the Super Friends with Wendy and Marvin. I mean, I think I could probably forgive Wendy and Marvin and Wonder Dog before I could forgive or accept Snapper Carr. It just completely, like I said, it just completely baffled me. I really didn't understand it. And this was even reading these as a kid. I mean, these were, again, I just keep hammering this home because there's just a certain theme to the reason that I collect the books that I collected, and Justice League is no exception. It's sort of the same story. If you're going to spend, 15, 20 cents on a comic book, would you rather spend, your hard-earned money? I mean, it was hard. You had to mow lawns. You had to do chores, right? So you were, you held on to this money with an iron fist. And I remember, the only thing that would, part from my that would come between me and my hard-earned cash was penny candy. I was always a sucker for penny candy. I was always a sucker for things like Tootsie Rolls and blow pops and things like that. I loved penny candy. I loved the fact that you could go through and you could put together a little bag of all kinds of different candy for like a penny each or 2 cents each or whatever it was. But penny candy was one, and comic books were the other, right? There was two things that would, that I would part with my money, readily, easily, right? Comic books and penny candy, usually at the same time. I mean, if I were to shut my eyes and imagine most of my childhood, it would be hopping on a bicycle and riding my bike to 7-Eleven, buying comic books and penny candy and probably a Slurpee and a plastic superhero cup, and then sitting outside of 7-Eleven and reading a comic book, eating penny candy and drinking a Slurpee until I was sick on my stomach. That's probably about 97% of my childhood was spent doing that. So, Justice League of America, same old, same story, same deal. I mean, you were going to spend 15, 20, 25, 30 cents on a comic book. Why would you buy a comic book that just had one person in it when right next to it on the stand was a comic book that was the same exact price that had like every superhero in it, right? So, you'd get sucked into Justice Leagues. I would always, it was Brave and Bold. It was DC Comics Presents. It was the Justice League. It was any special edition comic that, 100-page Spectacular, 80-page Giants, any of those kind of books that you could get and listen, that you could get and read that would have multiple heroes in them. Again, more bang for your buck. And Justice League, of course, was no different. I was magnetically attracted to Justice League. So this is probably, this is one that I got that was, I got this through a friend who at the time gave me a whole bunch of comics in a box. So, I have specifically held on to this comic book for, I can't even begin to tell you how many years. But this comic book was originally gifted to me in a box of other comic books, and it was one of those, rare finds where you dig through the comic book and you get a decent, nice, somewhat key book that you didn't pay anything for, and you just sort of stumble across these. And I've held on to this book ever since. This book is in okay condition. I mean, it's not in the greatest of condition, but again, it's the when Adam joins the Justice League, it's an early Justice League book. When you're thumbing through a box of comics that a guy, is nice enough to give you, hey, I have this old box of comics lying around my house, and I know you like comics, so here you go, and gives you a box of comics, and you thumb through it and you see Justice League of America number 14, you think, okay, that's not a bad comic. I'll take that one and I'll hold on to that one. I don't remember exactly what was in the rest of the box, but I do recall that, I was pleasantly surprised by the Justice League book. But again, it's not bad, but like I said, it's the 60s, it's 1962. It's, it predates me significantly. It's Snapper Carr. I think this is probably a really good example of DC trying to be Marvel, or no, this probably predates Marvel. I mean, this probably predates the Marvel Age of Comics. So this definitely predates, pop DC with the checkerboard patterns on top of the comics and whatnot, trying to be hip and cool. But I mean, come on, Snapper Carr. What do you do with that? I can't get behind that. That's just a tough one for me to keep up with. But, this story takes the usual path. Somebody gets brainwashed, somebody gets tricked into doing something, somebody is doing something against their will, and you have, Adam trying to destroy the League, but at the end of the story, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but at the end of the story, he ends up joining the Justice League. And one of the reasons that I love this book is because of the house ads. When you're 1962, you do get a nice snapshot in time as you thumb through this comic book, and you get to see a lot of the ads. On page 12, there's a really wonderful old school Tootsie Roll ad here that I just love. And then you have all kinds of DC house ads. You have what's the difference between an age, era, and a period, which I have no idea why this is in here, but this is a considerable length of time, especially connected to a dominant personality or influence, such as the Stone Age. But this is almost like a little half-page panel of history. There's ads here for coin collecting, and then there's a couple of those wonderful, wonderful in-house DC ads that. I mean, there are entire websites dedicated to sort of in-house advertising in comic books that everybody loves. This one is no different. This one has got a DC giant. There, we talked about 100-page spectaculars yesterday, but here's a wonderful house ad for a Batman, a giant Batman annual, 80 pages for 25 cents, and it's Batman and Robin's Most Fantastic Foes, a star-studded selection of sensational stories in this new giant special. And then there's also a giant Lois Lane, 80-page giant Lois Lane annual that's being advertised in here as well. See the many exciting roles of Lois Lane in this sensational album of her greatest adventures. So there's a house ad here for Batman and Lois Lane, 80-page giants. But this is great. I do enjoy the Justice League, early Justice League. It's a little corny, but it's not bad. I think if I had to pick an era of Justice League that I really go back to a lot and reread, I think it would probably be the late 70s Justice League of America. I really, Garcia Lopez and just that era of reading Justice League when I was growing up, and I love that. And then of course I love the Geffen Justice League. Who doesn't love the Green Lantern and all of that great stuff that Geffen did in the 80s. That's good stuff. But this one, not a bad read, kind of fun. I think it's kind of cool that Adam, has his own Adam has his own chair in the Justice League, when they sit around the table where, they have a, what is it, like a clubhouse with a table around it, and all the superheroes have a seat around the table. And Adam, of course, has his own tiny little chair that hovers, and he's got a little miniature transistor that'll allow him to be signaled, right? So he gets his own atom size JLA, Justice League signal device, and he's got his own atom size chair. Because I guess when you're Atom, you just always walk around, 6 feet 6 inches tall. I think that's, everybody else is normal, but if you're the Atom, you have to exist always as 6 inches tall, which, I guess that's what you do. I guess when you're Atom, I guess you're always 6 inches tall. You're like a little action figure. I guess, you worry about people stepping on you, Superman or Batman stepping on you, but, anyway, so there it is. That is Justice League of America number 14. Now, I pulled out the old Overstreet here and looked up Justice League. I got Justice League of America here on page 766 of this year's Overstreet guide. Now, my copy is a little beat up, so there's no way that my copy is anywhere near, near mint or very fine or fine even. I would probably put this copy at like maybe a 4.0, like good, maybe very good. It's a solid copy. It's still, the staples are, cover's intact. The staples are still there. So it's a complete, nice, solid copy. So I'd probably give it like a nice, very good, like a 4.0 or something. But this book, at a 9.2, this book is valued at around $660. At 9.0, you can get this book for about $428. Very fine 8.0, this book will cost you about $196. And then for a very good copy of this book, you could look to fork over about $56, according to Overstreet. So there you have it. Go out and hunt yourself down a Justice League of America number 14 and get your hands on the time when the Atom joined the Justice League. Trust me, you won't regret it. So that is our comic book of the day for today. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Jeff. This is the comic book of the day. We are at comicbookoftheday.com. If you'd like to go and see what this issue looks like and what my copy looks like, and you can be the judge. You tell me if you think it's a 4.0 or not. Take a look at it at comicbookoftheday.com. You can follow along on Facebook at Comic of the Day. We appreciate it if you like us and follow us on Facebook. If you want to follow us along on Twitter, we are at cboftheday.com or CB of the Day on Twitter. We are on Instagram at Comic Book of the Day. I like to go ahead and push, photos of the Comic Book of the Day on Instagram there. So if you are a big Instagram fan, you can catch us there as well. But like I said, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on Tumblr. We have our own website there, comicbookoftheday.com. So, hop on, follow along, comment, post, like us, follow us, retweet us, whatever strikes your fancy, whatever social media maneuvers you like to make. Go ahead and follow us along. And hey, listen, you have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow on the Comic Book of the Day podcast. Thank you.